Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, we've got a very special guest. He's the head coach at Washington State University who just won their first Pac-12 title in program history. Today, we're sitting down with Matt Leach.
Hey, Coleman, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's been a wild ride, but a lot of fun.
Thanks for sitting down with us, and let's get into that Pac-12 title. Washington State is just coming. The women are just coming off of their Pac-12 championships, where Chloe Larson came away with a win in the 50 freestyle in a nail biter of a race that saw multiple ties throughout the heat. It was like the Wild West out there. Can you break down that 50 free race for us?
Yeah. Well, there was a three-way tie for second, and then a two-way tie for like fifth, and another two-way tie for seventh. It was wild. This whole year we knew Chloe could do some special things because she was able to set not only our give pull record during the season, but she also won a lifetime best time, and no one was expecting that. She's doing everything right. But breaking down that 50 freestyle, she's got a great vertical. So we wanted her to get out as far as she possibly could, and hit. We had worked with her line underwater because she tends to stay underwater too long, and so we want to minimize her underwater kicks just because she's a faster swimmer than she's a kicker. So that makes sense to get up and swim. And she was the first one up. A pretty shallow line, which was perfect for her. And then, when she was heading to the turn and she was first, we were going pretty crazy to begin with, but at that point when we saw her feet get over first, I didn't think anyone was going to be able to run her down, because in our past she would normally take one breath. And we had been working on this the entire time since I've been here. 50 freestylers don't breathe. You got 22 seconds. Put your head down and go. And so we've been doing a lot of work with that. And she finally embraced it this year, and she made it happen. And she got her hand on the wall first. And the rest was history. It was a great call by the Pac-12 announcers, Rich and Amy Van Dyken. They're great. Two great people, but it was so much fun for Chloe. It was so much fun for our program, and it just kind of puts it out there that we're here, we need to be on the map, and we want to continue to move on to NCAAs and swim at a high level at the Pac-12 championships.
Not only did that destroy a program record from over a decade ago, but to have that moment come for Chloe, who's a senior this year. What did it mean for that all to culminate, for a woman that's been an integral part of the program since you got there 3 years ago?
Yeah, she's done everything right. You talk about somebody that you want to have a part of your program, you want 30 of her, you want her to be there forever. She's a great student. She's a great person. First and foremost, she's a captain, and she has this quiet confidence about her that I think is absolutely amazing. And she's been great helping our young program continue to try and excel and break down those decade-long barriers. Like you said, with the school record, going to NCAAs consistently, things like that. And understanding that it doesn't just happen in the pool, it happens in the weight room. It happens with your nutrition, it happens with your sleep, it happens with your hydration, it happens across, all different areas of your life. And she just continues each year to get better. And, everyone gets another year. So we're going to attack NCAA's and do our best there, and then see what happens for next year. But we're super excited about this program moving forward, and it's just nice to see some of these things culminate in the way we want to go and keep our trajectory going. But it's all because of Chloe Larson and her hard work. I was just lucky enough to be a part of it.
Yeah. Obviously, as a coach, I'm guessing you have a plan of how you want the team energy to feel and look heading into, a conference championship like that. Do you feel like something like that was probably at least a bit of a surprise, changed the energy and that dynamic on the team for the rest of the weekend?
I think it did. And I think, for our freshmen, a big freshman class, they were kind of worried, like, oh my gosh, this is Pac-12. This is the hype. This is everything we've been working hard for, and for Chloe to get up on the blocks, that first night and have that confidence, to do something special and get up there and race. I think that just kind of loosened everyone up and like, oh my gosh, we can go fast. It doesn't matter as long as you have a lane, as long as you've been preparing the right way and doing things, the right way, that anything can happen. And, I'm just excited to kind of continue to see that trajectory, not only with Chloe and everyone else on our team, but, as we continue to build with future classes coming in and going that direction. But no, it's, our first conversation as a team here is family first. So building that culture, building that atmosphere, making sure we're all on the same page, and then obviously going to class and getting good grades, and then competing at the highest level. And so now, we're able to do that. So it's been an interesting ride this year, but I'm super excited for Chloe and for our family and program.
Yeah. So that swim aside, how would you analyze how the team as a whole was able to perform at the Pac-12 championships, especially as you mentioned, with such a roller coaster of a year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough. I think anybody out there who, when you started the season not knowing what was going on, and then getting into some sort of a rhythm, I think has been the hardest thing. But when it comes to the season and how we've built the program and looked towards Pac-12s, I think our administration's done a great job. Our student athletes done a great job, but again, we're trying to get back to that culture aspect, the communication, the having fun, the cheering, all doing that socially distanced, from each other and being safe. So it's kind of been, you can plan and do everything you can, but, as the season progresses, you're going to have to change the plan, a million different ways. So, So for me, it's been trying to continue to stay on our foundation of what we want to build from, which is that family first aspect and having each other's back, being able to communicate and help each other out through this hard time. And again, I think obviously it's worked, and we're looking to continue to build and grow. So hopefully that answered your question, Coleman. I'm kind of taking tangents left and right. So
no, that was so I like that, but I'll re-ask that question in a slightly different way. Just Chloe aside, how do you feel about the performances of the Pac-12s?
Well, we had multiple top 10 swims. The rivals the past 2 years that our staff's been here. We had our highest point total in program history in the Pac-12s. So again, you're seeing we scored points in every single event, which I don't even think has happened before in our program. So when you're talking about having swims every night, and then an A finals and B finals, C finals, all the way through the meet. I mean, I think that just shows you where our program's heading. I still remember earlier on when I first got here, we didn't have too many second swims, and so now we're building upon that, and each year is getting better and better. And I was talking with our staff, looking at top 10 times. The 100 breaststroke, we have 5 of the top 10 swims since I've been here, which number one, the school record. number 1, 3, 4, 5, 7 and 8. So, or 7 and 9. So it's pretty wild to see this program grow. So overall, minus Chloe, it was still a great success. We saw a lot of lifetime best times, top 10 swims, and I'm just excited that we were there. And I got to say thank you to all the Pac-12 staff for hosting the event, for University of Houston for having us. I was on pins and needles until they announced we're doing it at Houston, because I was trying to find a different meet we would have had to go to just to try and have something at the end of the season. But thank goodness, we were able to solidify Houston. So, and our Pac-12 crew did a great job getting out there and setting it up. And right now the men's meet seems to be going well. So, I'm super excited. But our Coug family was amazing at Pac-12s, and obviously we're hungry to continue to grow and build off of that.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it a little, but this season has been all about making adjustments. Can you give us some examples of throughout this year how you, as the head coach of this program, have had to make adjustments in the face of this global pandemic?
Right. Well, as you know, I can't get into too much details on, specific student athletes, but in general, I've talked with head coaches all across the country, and it's okay. We get a good month of training in, and then, we have some contact tracing or something else. And again, I think this is hit everybody, and you talk about being safe. My number one goal for our student athletes this year was safety, being safe, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, mind, body, and soul, physically, mentally, emotionally. And so that was really important. And again, our support staff here at Washington State, they're absolutely amazing. But having to kind of take a step back and say, hey, we've got some contact tracing going on. Let's go ahead and be safe, or other things of that nature puts a pause on everything. And so you've got to be able to change and address anything that's going on in your program, but also when you get back to it, okay, how do we learn and grow from whatever experience we were at or what happened earlier on? So for me, it's mainly just making sure, hey, I haven't been through a pandemic before. None of us have. So these are kind of the standards and the norms that we know of, and that can change as we've seen that change throughout this whole thing. But it's making sure you're being safe and making sure that if you have anything or need anything that you're communicating. And so, it was great when we had our first meet of the season against Idaho, which is right next door to us. That was kind of our mid-season meet that we normally have in November. That was our first meet. So for us just to be able to get a meet in November, I was super happy about it. And we had some best times there. And then that kind of refocused us, I think, moving into the winter training here and getting people back. And even the Thanksgiving winter break was weird because you send them home for Thanksgiving, which we're normally used to. We celebrate Thanksgiving. We had a whole week normally. We normally take Monday, Tuesday and train, and then they head home Wednesday through the rest of the week. But we couldn't do that this year because they head home. They got to come back in quarantine. And then literally a week after that, they're going home for a Christmas break, or 2 weeks after that, they're going home for winter break. So we put everything together and stayed through Thanksgiving and trained. And then they got a little bit more time at home, more chunk of time at home, so that we didn't have to waste 2 weeks of quarantine, just 1 week. So we had to adjust some things. And again, the administration and everyone and our staff, they were awesome to try and figure out the plan. And our student athletes, I asked them, what do you guys want to do? What's most important? If you can't have Thanksgiving, is it more important to be home longer for Christmas and for winter break? And that was the yes moment. And some of our student athletes weren't able to go home, our international ones. And so we tried to do everything we could based on being in a pandemic to have them feel like they were looked after. So, again, my hat goes off to everybody, associated with Washington State to help our student athletes, but everyone out there that's had to deal with this, that have either worked at hospitals or emergency care facilities, anything. So anywho, I ramble even more, Coleman, but it's been a change making changes on the fly and just trying to do what's best, at the time for our student athletes.
Sure. And just getting into the nitty gritty of, of your role as a swim coach, you mentioned how training has been PC, and obviously with contact tracing, if someone comes into COVID, you have to adjust to that. But, compared to even last year when there was no COVID, how has, writing workouts, writing weekly plans, writing a seasonal plan, been different this year?
Well, last year, we had the summer before to train, so we're talking 2 summers ago. We had our best summer ever. We had multiple Olympic trial qualifiers. We were excited about the season. Last year we had multiple school records and again, a great building piece into this year, and then everything shut down. So it's been crazy. I still remember on this day, when we had to kind of take a little bit of a break and say, look, let's make sure everyone's healthy. Let's, do what we need to do. I had to rewrite everything, the whole season plan, because you take a whole summer off. Swimming at a high level, you don't get to do that. You get maybe 2 weeks a year off. And so taking the whole summer off and then having some start and stops, having to rework our entire season was interesting, to say the least. And even after I did that, earlier on in the season, I still redid it 3 or 4 times. So we're talking about getting back to fundamentals, fundamentals of swimming at a high level, being fit, having a great aerobic base, having great threshold. And so, obviously we do a ton of kicking. And so that had to be a kind of not only adjusted, but extended, right? Because of the stop and go. So we had to adjust that. And obviously, on the deck with some amazing coaches in the Pac-12, just picking their brains. I love picking brains and hearing some of the best coaches on the planet that I'm listening to saying, yeah, you look at the 200s and up, across the board, they're slower. And I think you can look at the NCAAs. You look at the 50 free, it's just a little bit slower. But as you go up, obviously you can see that year of training and that the cycles that we've missed out over the summer and start and go has affected that. But I think you can also find that if you're dedicated, you can find a way. You can find a way to get a little bit better. You can find a way to be a little more precise in whatever you want to do. So, again, it's been wild, but no, we had to extend some of the cycles that we would normally do in August and September. We had to extend that into, more into winter training, hold on to it longer as we were getting ready for PAX. So, it seemed to work out for a lot of our student athletes, and I'm super excited with where we're going.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
That answers it. And you're super excited with where you're going. I want to take it back to a little bit to where you've been. I met you when you were starting the women's program at Indiana State.
Yeah.
And it's been, I think that was 6 years ago. And you came to Washington State in 2018. And I'm kind of just curious, you built this Indiana State program for 3 years, and then you came to Washington State. You've now been building that program for 3 years. And I'm just kind of curious the similarities and differences of an Indiana State versus a Washington State. Obviously, Washington State, Pac-12 school. I'm guessing the resources look different. I'm guessing the personnel look different. But what did you take from that Indiana State building experience and bring to now this building at Washington State?
Well, that's a really good question. Starting at Indiana State from nothing, no history, no program. It was trying to find people. And again, the similarities are relatively simple. You want to try and find people and have people that mimic kind of your character, your characteristics of what you want to try and do. And so at Indiana State, it was about finding people that wanted a different experience, that wanted to say, hey, I started this program and look where it's gone, years 1, 2, 3, 4. Right now, Coach Josh is doing a great job out there. And the assistant coach, Nikki, I actually coached her at University of Wyoming. So they're doing a great job, and I want them to continue that trajectory. But as far as similarities go, it's that different experience. When you come to Washington State, it's going to be a different experience. Yes, you're swimming against the best of the best. I mean, obviously Olympians, almost at every single dual meet in the Pac-12. But it's that different experience of being able to not only just say you swam in the Pac-12, because that's a little different from where we want to go here, but it's competing at that highest level and being able to look back and say, this was the change, in personnel, in coaching that changed our family dynamic and helped to rewrite history. And so at Indiana State, it was a little different because there wasn't any history. It was, where do we want to go from here? And everyone bought in. I mean, the first year at Indiana State, we took our lumps. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think we'd win a dual meet. We won 3. And then, we took our lumps at Pac-12 or at Missouri Valley Conference with only freshmen who, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, didn't know what to expect. And they were able to learn and grow. And same thing with our family here at Washington State. The first year, knowing what the new expectation was with our staff coming in, there was a learning curve. And so it's been a fun ride. So obviously the difference is, I mean, obviously, in the pool, as far as Missouri Valley, which is very competitive, and they have some great coaches, and the Pac-12 being out here is much different. But, when you look at it and you kind of take away that basic swimming differences, it's the same thing, Coleman. You want to try and find people that want to come in and continue to help change and facilitate growth in your program, from a character standpoint, from an academic standpoint. Like, one of the things that I'm super excited about with both programs, the semester I left at Indiana State, they were the highest team GPA. Maybe it was the second semester after I left. They had the highest team GPA in the NCAA, which I was floored. I saw it and I was like, oh goodness, they were like 3.7 something, and we just had our highest academic GPA of our program's history this past semester at 3.61. So again, it's just bringing everybody together and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Get on board. Let's do it. So. But as far as everything else, I think it just boils down to that, finding people that are similar, that want to come in and not prove themselves or have a chip on their shoulder in a negative way, but that are determined to not only be a part of a family, but excel and help everybody get better. And that's what's important to me.
So I love that answer. Personnel, family, that's your top emphasis and kind of what you're looking for, what you've found has worked for building up these programs in the past. For any coaches or even swimmers who want to be coaches or who want to be on a team like this, who are listening right now, I'm interested if you have, things that you've tried in these past 6 years that you found haven't worked. It seems like you shared what did work, and I'm interested, things that haven't gone so well for you in the past.
Well, there's a lot of things that haven't gone well for me in the past. I mean, you have to fail in order to figure out to get better. And I've been lucky. I've been extremely lucky with everywhere I've been, to learn a lot from every coach that I've worked with. Whether that went out, whether it was at LSU as a GA, for Admiral Schmidt and that program changing, So every program I've been on, I've seen a change and growth, from LSU when I was in grad school to University of Wyoming working for TJ up there, and taking a team that was solid in the Mountain West to having sprinters at NCAA's the majority of the time I was there, which was phenomenal. But you learn a lot on the way on what doesn't work. And one of the things for me that I found that doesn't work is not being yourself. You've got to be true to yourself, whether you're a coach, whether you're a swimmer, it doesn't matter. You've got to be true to who you are and what your values are. And you know what, some coaches, they're all about, hey, time. All I'm going to do is talk to you about swimming. All I'm going to do is talk to you about time, swimming. How do we get you better? My thing is, when people walk in to practice, it's one of the best times of the day for me. Growing up, my dad was a swim coach and just retired. So I'm so used to not just it being about swimming, but more about, hey, how's your family? How's school? All those little things. And for me, it's being yourself. Some of the things that haven't worked is trying to force camaraderie and team bonding. And, one of the things that I've learned is that you've got to find a way to have a team be vulnerable with each other, and you can't force that. If there are people that are like, this is just my swimming team, I don't want anyone to know about me personally, any of that stuff. And that's fine. There's some people that are like that. Some coaches are like that. That's not how I am. I want to know how you're doing. I want to know how your family's doing. I want to know how our class is going. If you're having a hard time with, a certain class, so we can try and get you help. But for me, it's being authentic and trying to find ways to be vulnerable. My wife and I, we have she's 18 months now, our first kiddo, and that has opened my eyes a ton on everything in life. How do I raise her the right way? How would she want to be treated? If she was an 18-year-old that was struggling, a first time away from home in a pandemic. So I try and do the best I can of taking myself out of the swim coach role and be more of that mentor. But to me, failure is a part of the process, not only as a swimmer, as a coach. And don't get me wrong, Coleman, I heard no a lot of times when I was, oh, okay, what's my next adventure? What's my next chapter? If I've learned everything I can at one place, how do I move on from there? And I heard a million no's, which is, that's led me to here. And I love this place. And my wife and I, we're happy, and we're, the team's doing great. But throughout my entire swimming and coaching career, it's all about failures, about what doesn't work. How do you recognize that so you can change moving forward? And to me, that's really what it's all about. There's really no special equation. It's failure and then adapting and growing from that failure.
And I appreciate that wisdom and that perspective. And it's been great catching up with you over the last half an hour, and hearing about your experiences and your personal growth as a coach, and sharing that growth with the programs that you've coached. Before we sign off today, any parting thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Oh, goodness. Parting thoughts. I don't know. I feel like I should have like words of wisdom for you, Coleman, or, for all the SwimSwammers out there. I did watch Dave Durden's podcast. I reached out to him and picked his brain after your podcast. And this group of SwimSwammers of family, it's pretty special. Being a swimmer teaches you a lot in life. It teaches you a lot about failure. It teaches you that, if I work on a skill for one day, it doesn't mean I'm going to master it. Swimming is a lot about planning and preparing now for something that might not happen in 6 months, that might not happen in at the big meet at the end of the season. And so that's why, being present and being a part of the journey, we talk about the journey, is really important. And that's a lot about life. You're not going to get the job, the job you want the first time you apply. It might not even happen at all. It might put you in a different trajectory where you fall in love with something else. So life is a journey, and be present along that journey. And that's something that I feel very blessed to have learned pretty early on. And growing up on my club team back home, where my dad was the head age group coach, there was a saying that we'd all put sayings or things on a t-shirt, and it was a lot of fun. But one of them was success is a choice. And success is all about that. You're going to fail. You're going to find your way, but it's a choice. You want to work harder than other people to get that job, to get that scholarship, to be on that team, to get your time, whatever it is, to get that grade. You've got to work hard. And that's one thing that I love about swimming that I think teaches us a lot about the rest of our life. And I'm just so grateful for you having me. It's good to be back on SwimSwam, and hopefully we can get back together again sooner than 6 years from now. That'd be nice. So thank you so much for having me, and go Cougs.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.